Everyone is talking about how hot the real estate market is here in Emerald Isle, North Carolina. But is it really? This video is my February 2025 market report for Emerald Isle and surrounding towns in what is called the Crystal Coast. And in this video, I want you to pay attention to three numbers so that you don't lose 5 or 6 figures when you purchase or sell real estate here in Emerald Isle. My name is Dennis Richkovsky, and I'm an expert real estate agent for the Crystal Coast Realty Group. And if you want to avoid all the mistakes that others have made here in this market, hit the subscribe button so you don't make their blunders. Stick around so I can share with you the biggest mistake they make, and stay to the end where I'll share with you some market information no other agent has. Let's dive in. Behind me is my February 2025 market real estate analysis for Emerald Isle and the surrounding Crystal Coast. I divide this market into 10 towns, and geography divides these 10 towns into 2 sectors. The first sector is on the barrier island called Bogue Banks. And the towns that are located on Bogue Banks are Emerald Isle, the combined towns of Indian Beach, Salter Path, Pine Knoll Shores, and Atlantic Beach. On the mainland, I have the towns of Beaufort, Morehead City, Newport, and in Onslow County, Swansboro and Jacksonville. You can get lost in a large variety of data points trying to analyze the real estate market in Emerald Isle or any other place for that matter. You can look at things like employment statistics, construction permits, weather events, mortgage rates, and so on and so on. I'm a numbers guy, to be sure, but when it comes to analyzing the real estate market here in Emerald Isle, I focus on 3 numbers and 3 numbers only. The first is average days on market, or DOM. The second is list to sold ratio, and the third is pricing trends. Days on market is a simple calculation. The timer starts when a property is listed in the multiple listing services, a proprietary website accessible only to real estate agents. The timer stops when the property is under contract or is removed from the listing for whatever reason. Days on market may be a simple calculation, but it can have major impact on how many dollars you make as a seller and how many dollars you save as a buyer. Let's take these 2 examples. Let's say your home has been listed on the MLS for 48 hours. A buyer makes you an offer. As the seller, you know it's a new listing and you can be pretty firm on price. The buyer has little leverage and will probably make an offer very close to asking. But imagine your home has been on the market for over 100 days. Buyers will assume you've had a lot of showings, but few, if any, offers. As a seller, you may be becoming more flexible with your price, and buyers may be making fairly low offers because you are probably antsy to sell. Let's look at the numbers. The average days on market on Bogue Banks, where the towns of Emerald Isle, Indian Beach, Salter Path, Pine Knoll Shores, and Atlantic Beach are located. Those DOMs are over 100 days, with the exception of Emerald Isle, where the number is 90. The number in Indian Beach and Salter Path, the combined towns, is 300. We're getting on close to almost 3/4 of a year. The number in Pine Knoll Shores is 168, and for Atlantic Beach, it's a little lower at 159. Looking at these numbers, you might conclude that the real estate market in Emerald Isle favors buyers, but this is only one data point, and one data point does not make a trend. Stick around to the end of this video where I will show you a graph that does show multiple data points and can indicate trends. Now, turning to the mainland, where we have the towns of Morehead City and Jacksonville, where days on market are in the 50s. And we have the town of Beaufort on the other side, where the number is more than double at 123. The remaining towns, Swansboro, Cedar Point, Cape Carteret, and Newport, all have numbers in the 80s. So now you know what average days in market can reveal about the overall market in Emerald Isle. But what does it do for you, you might ask, about a home that I'm interested in? Good question to ask, and let me give you a couple scenarios as answers. Let's say you see a house on a market that you're interested in, and the days on market is 120, and the average in the area is only 60. This should raise some red flags for you. Perhaps the house is overvalued, or perhaps there's a problem with its condition, or both. Now let's imagine another scenario. A house you see that you're interested in has been on the market for 180 days. And again, the average days on market is below 60. You might conclude that you have a very motivated seller. But what if that seller has to remain firm on price because he or she have a lot of debts to take care of? In this case, you may have a difficult negotiations on your hand, especially if the home is overvalued. And in that instance, that's where I come in. That's where you need an expert real estate person like myself to handle the negotiations. Or imagine this third scenario. You have a home that's been listed for only 30 days in the MLS, and you've observed 2 price reductions. You can assume that this, as a buyer, you can presume the seller is very motivated to sell, and negotiations can presumably go along very smoothly, so long as the offer you make is a fair one. So now that you understand what DOM can tell a buyer about the mindset of a seller, what can DOM do for the seller? Well, average days on market is even more critical for sellers. Newly advertised homes in the MLS generally generate the most interest. And if the average days on market in the area is only 30 days or less, the seller can be very strong in his or her asking price. But what happens if your home is still on the market weeks, months later? After the first few weeks, all the potential buyers in the area have seen your home. So now you have a much more reduced market of people moving into the area. And in times like this, sellers are often recommended to lower the price because, as the agent would say, the market has spoken. But if you hire an agent like me, maybe it's not your pricing strategy that needs to change, but your marketing strategy. That's a topic I leave for another video. And speaking of local, do you want to know the biggest mistake that people make coming into this Emerald Isle real estate market? They forget that the market is local, that the real estate market here in Emerald Isle is local. Now let's turn to my second number, the list to sold ratio. 6 months ago, the number was 95% or higher in every town that I look at. But what about today in February 2025? Well, looking at my chart over here, you can see that in every town, whether it be on Bogue Banks or on the mainland, that list to sold ratio remains above 95%, with the exception of Emerald Isle, where the number is a tick below at 94.34%. Now, what does list to sold ratio tell you, the seller or the buyer, about the real estate market and its psychology? Well, when the list to sell ratio is high, like it is now, sellers can be more bold in their pricing strategies. As for buyers, well, they'll either have to accept that the seller has the leverage and offer accordingly, or simply sit out the market until trends favor buyers once again. Speaking of which, If you are planning to move or want to move here to Emerald Isle, what state do you currently live in presently? Leave your comment below. And now let's look at my third number, pricing trends. Pricing trends give indications of future market trends and provide answers to the question, are prices going up or prices going down? Is the market in a bubble? On Bogue Banks, about 6 months ago, I reported that in all communities, with the exception of Atlantic Beach, pricings were trending downward. Now let's look at today's numbers in February 2025. And here on Bogue Banks, you can see that in Emerald Isle and in Atlantic Beach, pricing trends are upward, whereas in Indian Beach, Salter Path, Pine Mill Shores, the pricing trends are going downward. On the mainland, I reported 6 months ago that all the pricing trends were down. Today, in February 2025, we can look at the mainland and you can see that the pricing trends are up in 3 towns and down in 3 others. And they're up in Morehead City, Newport, and the combined towns of Cedar Point and Cape Carteret, and down in Beaufort, Swansboro, and Jacksonville. And now, as promised, I want to reveal a chart that summarizes the current real estate market trends in Emerald Isle on February 3rd, 2025. And on this chart, along the x-axis or vertical axis, our prices are plotted. And along the y or horizontal axis are dates. My towns are all color-coded. The main point to be made is that the pricing trends are increasing in every single segment of my market. Looking at this same chart some 6 months ago, a number of these lines were declining, suggesting a hint at a buyer's market. Today, as we move into February 2025, the local real estate market here in Emerald Isle is decidedly in favor of sellers. Bottom line, if you are thinking about sitting on the sidelines until prices come down, you may be sitting there for a long time to come. If you didn't see a town you are interested in, call or text me. My phone number is in the description below. Give me your town and leave me an email, and I'll do an analysis complimentary. Want to know more about the real estate local market here in Emerald Isle and surrounding Crystal Coast? You can go to the link in the description below and book a one-on-one coaching call with me. I'll answer all your questions about real estate related to Emerald Isle and the Crystal Coast. If you learned something, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up. It helps me prepare future videos. Hit the subscribe button, it's free. And ring the bell so you'll be notified when another one of my videos is published. Check out my book, Live Where You Vacation. I left a link in the description below for your convenience. Be safe and have fun, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.